$10 million from a single, perfectly timed tech stock trade, a massive $50 million portfolio buyout, catching an unbelievable 500% market surge on Wall Street during a historic, once-in-a-decade bull run. Most people hear those wild, astronomical numbers and immediately make an assumption. They hear about the massive liquidity events and the exits, and they think, wow, that right there must be the exact moment they felt the absolute richest. That must be what true financial freedom feels like. We are conditioned by pop culture, financial influencers, and endless highlight reels to believe that wealth is only truly felt when you are flying on private jets or ringing the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. But as a financial coach who works behind the scenes with both struggling beginners and high net worth entrepreneurs, let me tell you a secret that nobody in the mainstream finance space wants to admit to you. That narrative is often a complete and utter lie. In my coaching practice, the most profound transformation I witness isn't when a client sells their company for 8 figures. The wealthiest I see my students feel, the moment of greatest financial relief and pure freedom, is almost always the exact day they finally hit $100,000 in their basic, everyday checking account. That is the first massive, life-altering unlock. And here is exactly why that specific number means infinitely more than any multi-million-dollar deal. Before you hit that $100K, you are usually operating from a place of scarcity. When clients first come to me, they aren't stressing about luxury vacations. They are staring at the ceiling of a cramped apartment, doing frantic mental math at 2 a.m. on whether they can afford basic groceries for the week, or if they need to hoard that $40 just to keep the electricity from being shut off. But once you finally hit that $100,000 mark, something chemical happens in the brain. For many people, the daily, suffocating panic of basic human survival just vanishes. You often stop worrying about tomorrow entirely. You don't stress about making rent on the first of the month or have a panic attack when a car insurance bill arrives. In the world of finance, we talk a lot about compounding interest and diversified stock portfolios. But here is the brutal truth that traditional financial advisors consistently overlook. You psychologically cannot focus on building a long-term investment portfolio or a scalable business if you are absolutely terrified about paying next month's rent. Your brain is locked in fight or flight mode. Punchline: you cannot build a towering financial empire when the concrete foundation of your house is currently on fire. So, in this masterclass, I am not going to teach you complicated Wall Street algorithms. I am giving you the exact, dead simple, highly actionable 6-step roadmap that I force my private clients to follow to make and bank their very first $100,000. If you already have a massive portfolio and a wealth manager on speed dial, skip this video entirely. But if you are starting from absolute zero, or if you are stuck on the exhausting hamster wheel of living paycheck to paycheck, then take notes. This is the exact blueprint I use to help people win the money game. Now, before we get into step 1, we need a 2-0-second reality check. I need to put some crucial guardrails on this advice. If you have crippling high-interest debt, if you have kids relying on you for their basic needs, or if you have unexpected medical costs, your order of operations changes. Do not blindly follow business advice without securing your base. Your specific order is this. First, build an emergency mini fund just to keep the lights on. Second, attack that toxic debt using the debt avalanche method because no investment outpaces a 25% credit card fee. And third, once the bleeding is stopped, then you transition to building a high-income skill. Secure your family, clear the toxic debt, and then let's build wealth. To get my clients to that first $100,000 baseline, the very first step I assign them is usually quite uncomfortable. It separates the people who just talk about getting rich at dinner parties from the people who actually do the gritty work. We have to aggressively cut your costs so that you can finally afford to take some real financial risk. When I say you need to cut costs, I don't mean starving yourself or damaging your health. Eat affordably, but make sure you get enough protein and calories to keep your brain firing. What I mean is completely obliterating your useless discretionary spending. For most of my clients, I have them immediately delete Uber Eats, DoorDash, and any other app that charges a 30% premium to bring food to their couch. Depending on your situation, you should drastically reduce or eliminate eating out at restaurants. No expensive birthday dinners. No corporate happy hours. If you are hungry, you go home and make a meal from a budget grocery store. You need affordable fuel that keeps you fiercely focused on your goal. Eat cheap, hit your macros, and move on. Example: I recently audited a client making $120,000 a year who was somehow dead broke. When we looked at the numbers, he was spending $2,500 a month on leased cars, dining out, and unused subscriptions. I made him sell the car, buy a reliable clunker in cash, and meal prep on Sundays. Within 90 days, he suddenly had $4,000 of free cash flow every single month to invest. What about clothing? Unless your specific job requires a strict uniform, whatever you currently own in your closet is exactly what you are wearing for the foreseeable future. Cut aggressively. No seasonal shopping sprees. Now, let's talk about the absolute biggest expense in your life: where you live. Your home needs to be the absolute cheapest roof you can possibly put over your head without compromising your physical safety. If you have the option, and it makes sense for your family dynamic, swallow your pride and move back in with your parents. If you can't, find a cheaper apartment, find roommates, and reduce your footprint. Your goal is to ensure you never have to think about a massive rent check or a $600 monthly car payment eating a hole in your paycheck ever again. You might be thinking, this sounds absolutely miserable. Why are we going to these extremes? Punchline: you only get rewarded for the risk you take in the market, but you cannot take any financial risk if your bank account hits absolute zero every single month. Right now, your lifestyle is swallowing your income. By crushing your downside expenses to the absolute floor, we forcefully create a massive gap between what you make and what you spend. In finance, we call this critical gap your free cash flow. That is your ammunition in the war for wealth. You physically can't buy the dip or invest in your own brain if you don't have a single spare dollar to your name. We just aggressively cut your living expenses. You are driving a paid-off clunker, eating nutritious but cheap groceries, and you finally have a gap between your income and expenses. You have created positive cash flow. But as a coach, I have to tell you the brutal truth. Saving money is only the much smaller half of the equation. You physically cannot clip enough coupons to become a millionaire. Once your expenses hit a baseline floor of survival, the only way to accelerate your wealth building is to drastically increase your active earning power. Unlike your expenses, your income has no ceiling. To drastically increase your income, you need to reclaim the one finite resource you are probably hemorrhaging right now: time. The most common excuse I hear from new students is, I work a full-time 9-to-5 job. I commute. By the time I get home, I am completely exhausted. I don't have time to build a side hustle. Listen to me very carefully. Your 9-to-5 job is not a prison holding you back. Your day job is actually your greatest asset right now. Think of your employer as your very own angel investor. They are funding your basic survival, allowing you to strategically build your wealth empire in the background without the debilitating stress of starving. Depending on your commute and family responsibilities, many people have significant pockets of personal time every single day. For some, it might be 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. For others, it's 8 p.m. to midnight. Even if you don't have 8 full free hours a day, you likely have at least 2 to 4. That is literally a part-time job perfectly hidden inside your day. The question I ask my clients is, what are you actually doing with those hours? Are you mindlessly doom scrolling on TikTok? Are you collapsing on the couch to watch 3 hours of Netflix? If you truly want that $100K in the bank, the unwinding stops today. You must treat those blocks of time like your family's future depends on it. To scale a side business or learn a skill, I implement a rigid system for my students called the 4-4-4 split. You break your available work hours into 3 distinct, hyper-focused buckets. Bucket 1, promotion. Let the world know you exist. If nobody knows about your product, they cannot give you money. This means creating content, sending cold outreach messages, or running digital ads. Bucket 2, delivery. Actually do the work people paid you for. Fulfill the service, ship the physical product, and keep your promises to the market. Bucket 3, building. Look at the horizon. Work on the business instead of in it. Systemize your operations. Automate your workflows, or prioritize your next big opportunity. Example, I had a student who was a freelance graphic designer. She spent 90% of her time in delivery and 0% in promotion. She was always stressed and broke. I forced her to spend the first 2 hours of every morning purely sending cold emails. Promotion. Within a month, she doubled her client roster because she finally balanced her buckets. But to execute this without burning out, you need to intimately know whether you are operating as a maker or a manager at any given hour. A maker is someone deep in the trenches. When you are writing sales copy or coding software, you are a maker. A maker requires a completely empty, uninterrupted block of time to enter a deep flow state. A manager is constantly interacting with people. This is taking client calls, replying to rapid-fire Slack messages, and checking endless emails. The single biggest killer of productivity is task switching, trying to be a maker and a manager at the exact same time. Imagine sitting down to do deep research, maker mode, but you leave your phone face up on the desk. Every 5 minutes, it buzzes with a group chat text, and you stop to reply, manager mode. You end up doing both jobs terribly. Punchline. Focus is achieved entirely through subtraction. When you forcefully strip away the doom scrolling, the unnecessary meetings, and the notifications, focus is simply what is naturally left over. You got your money back in step 1. You got your time back in step 2 by auditing your hours like a maximum security fortress. But having free time and a little extra cash means absolutely nothing if you don't know where to point the ship. That leads us directly into step 3. Research and select a specific skill that the market is already begging to pay you for. A massive, fatal mistake I see beginners make is trying to invent a brand new industry. Educating a new market takes millions of dollars that you don't have. Instead, go find what businesses and normal people are already actively swiping their credit cards for every single day. Provide the shovel in a gold rush. You generally have 2 paths: selling to businesses, B2B, or selling to consumers, B2C. If you want to sell to businesses, B2B, realize that business owners only care about one thing, at the end of the day, making more money. What specific skills help a business get more money? Running their online digital advertisements, managing their SEO, or building high-converting sales websites. Example, if you learn how to run Google Ads effectively and you get a local roofing company for 5 new high-paying jobs this month, they will happily pay you a $2,000 retainer. You are simply trading your skill for a percentage of the wealth you create for them. If you want to sell to regular consumers, B2C, the psychology is different. Go log into your bank account right now and look at what you actually spend your hard-earned cash on. Consumers pay to remove massive headaches and friction from their daily lives. If you can develop a service that gives busy people their time back, whether that's mobile car detailing, specialized tutoring, or meal prep, they will happily throw money at you. But here is the danger zone. Beginners go on YouTube, catch a severe case of shiny object syndrome, and try to learn Facebook ads, video editing, and drop shipping all at the exact same time. They split their limited energy into 10 different directions, get overwhelmed, and inevitably quit. Punchline. Concentration builds wealth. Diversification only protects it once you have it. To stop you from drowning, I make all my clients strictly follow the 1-1-1 rule. You are going to offer exactly one specific product or service. You are going to sell it to exactly one specific type of customer. And you are going to promote it on exactly one single channel. You are going to do this one thing relentlessly until you make your first significant milestone. Do not diversify your attention until the system works. You have locked down your cash flow, guarded your time, and carefully chosen the exact high-income skill using the 1-1-1 rule. But let's be real. Right now, you are a beginner, and beginners are bad at things. How do you get good quickly without wasting years of your life? Step 4. You have to spend your newly found time actually learning. As an educator, we need to completely redefine the word learning. Sitting in front of a computer, drinking iced coffee, and binge-watching 15 YouTube videos about finance is just entertainment disguised as productivity. Punchline. The true, pragmatic definition of learning is very simple. Same condition, new behavior. If you sit at the exact same desk tomorrow, stare at the exact same blank ad campaign manager, and make the exact same bad decision you made yesterday, you did not learn anything. Learning only mathematically happens when your behavior actually changes in the real world and produces a different outcome. Throw out the famous 10,000-hour rule. You can spend 10,000 hours repeating the exact same mistake with terrible form and get absolutely nowhere. It is not about 10,000 hours. It is about 10,000 iterations. An iteration is a feedback loop. Think about it like learning to shoot a basketball. You shoot, you miss to the left. The environment just gave you immediate feedback. You aimed too far left. The next time, you adjust your arm slightly to the right. That is an iteration. Example. I had a coaching client trying to launch a copywriting agency. He sent 10 cold emails, got 0 replies, and told me, cold email is dead. I told him to send 500 emails across 5 different subject lines. That is volume. When he did, he found that one specific subject line had a 40% open rate. He iterated, adapted his behavior, and booked 3 clients the next week. How do you cram iterations into the shortest amount of time possible? Here is the exact 4-step formula I teach. 1. Do massive volume. You cannot learn from sending 1 cold email and waiting a week. You need massive amounts of data to spot patterns. Volume negates luck. 2. Analyze the top 10%. Stop looking at average people. Go find the absolute top 10% in your chosen field. Look exclusively at the highest converting ads or the best performing portfolios. 3. Find the gap. What do those top 10% winners have in common that the bottom 90% are missing? Isolate the exact, minute details that create success. 4. Copy, optimize, and iterate. Aggressively avoid the mistakes of the 90% and unabashedly copy what the top 10% are doing. Take your next 100 attempts and try to make them look exactly like the winners, failing slightly less each time. You have put in the brutal reps and failed fast enough to actually get incredibly competent at your skill. But having a great skill in a vacuum does not print money. Learning the skill is just building the engine. Now, you need to pour high-octane gas into it. We are officially transitioning your mindset from playing defense saving to playing offense, investing. Step 5. Spend your money in the exact right places to violently multiply your income. You cannot save your way to massive generational wealth. Hoarding pennies is a deeply ingrained broke mindset. The wealthy deploy cash as a tool to buy leverage. Leverage simply means using a tool, a system, or someone else's knowledge to multiply the output of your own personal effort. I tell my clients to deploy their newly saved cash flow into 3 specific buckets. Bucket number 1 is tools. Do not be the stubborn amateur who tries to reinvent the wheel just to save a few bucks. If a basic customer relationship management CRM tool costs $30 a month, but saves you 10 agonizing hours a week of manual admin work, you buy it instantly. You take those 10 hours and use them to go sell more of your services. Bucket number 2 is trial attempts. You have to step into the arena and put your own skin in the game. If you learned how to run digital ads, spend your own hard-earned money testing those ads to see if your copy actually converts. Intellectually accept that some of these initial trials will fail and you will lose that money. That lost money is not a failure. It is simply the tuition price of buying highly accurate market data. Bucket number 3 is implementation. This means paying for specialized, premium courses, joining private networking communities, or hiring a coach. You aren't just buying a video to watch. You are literally buying someone else's 10,000 painful iterations so you can skip the line. Punchline. Almost every single self-made billionaire started by building a monster active cash-generating machine first, which gave them the heavy capital required to make big risky passive investments later. Build the active income engine first. Quick side note, speaking of implementation, if you want a shortcut right now, I've packaged the exact coaching frameworks I use with my private clients into a stack of market starter books. I'm personally donating the physical copies. You just cover the $15 for shipping. I'll even throw in a 30-day pass to our private school community where we break down business tactics live. Grab it at the link below, and let's get back to the roadmap. Your skills are sharp. Your tools are firing. The money actually starts rolling in. You hit your first $5K month, then $10K, then $20K a month. You feel unstoppable. But as a financial mentor, I have to warn you, right here, at this exact moment of early success, is where 99% of people completely destroy their wealth before it even begins to compound. Step 6 is the ultimate test of your discipline. Do not, under any circumstances, increase your lifestyle. I have coached so many young entrepreneurs who followed the first 5 steps perfectly, started making $40,000 a month in their mid-20s, and within 3 years, still completely bankrupted themselves. How? Because the second their income went up, their ego took over. They financed a luxury sports car at a terrible interest rate. They moved into a high-rise penthouse downtown. Example, I had a client who scaled a marketing agency to $50K a month. Immediately, he bought a G-Wagon and rented an office space he didn't need. 3 months later, the market shifted. He lost 2 big clients, and because his overhead was so high, he almost lost his entire business. He fell into the ultimate financial trap known as lifestyle creep. He desperately wanted to look rich to society instead of doing the quiet, boring work of actually being rich. Punchline. Your personal profit is simply your total income minus your basic food and basic shelter. Everything else you spend money on is just ego. You never get to $100,000 sitting in a bank account simply by increasing your top-line revenue. You can make $1 million a year, but if you spend $1,001, you are still broke. You get to the $100K mark by forcefully refusing to let your lifestyle creep up and swallow your newly generated income. The day you start blowing your surplus cash on luxury upgrades is the day you subconsciously decide to the universe that you are done growing. Stay grounded. Keep living like you are poor until your bank account is undeniably heavy. So, why do I make my clients go through all this brutal sacrifice? Why are we sleeping in cramped rooms, cutting out all entertainment, and working ourselves to the bone in the dark? Because banking your first $100,000 in cash is not about having a big number to brag about or buying luxury Swiss watches. It is about buying your own brain back from society. Think about Maslow's famous hierarchy of needs. When you are living paycheck to paycheck, your brain is violently stuck at the very bottom of that pyramid. You are operating in a state of primal survival mode. Every single decision you make is driven by the immediate suffocating panic of, how do I afford groceries this week? But when you endure these 6 steps and finally see $100,000 sitting safely in a basic checking account, that low-level survival panic evaporates. You realize the profound mathematical truth of your situation. If everything goes wrong, that capital gives you a massive financial runway, depending on your baseline expenses. You could lose your job or your business could fail, and you would still have a roof over your head and food on your table for a very long time. Only when you permanently stop worrying about your basic survival can you actually start thinking long-term. You cannot change the world, and you cannot build an empire if you are terrified about how you are going to pay the electric bill on Friday. You must secure the base, but knowledge without execution is completely useless. So, as your coach today, I am not going to let you just watch this and move on. I am giving you a strict 7-day mini action plan to get you off the couch and moving immediately. Day 1, the bleed. Log into your accounts and cut 3 major useless expenses today. Cancel the subscriptions and delete the food delivery apps. Day 2, the fortress. Audit your daily schedule. Find your maker window, lock it off on your calendar, and protect it with your life. Day 3. The target. Use the 1-1-1 rule. Pick exactly one specific skill, B2B or B2C, that you are going to commit to. No backup plans. Day 4. The recon. Find the top 10% of performers in that skill. Break down their ads or their pitches. Find the gap. Day 5. The reps. Execute your first 100 rapid iterations. Write the terrible copy. Edit the bad video. Get the garbage out of your system. Day 6. The pitch. Step into the arena. Pitch your first potential client or launch your first ad. Put skin in the game. Day 7. The pact. Look in the mirror and make the pact. When the money starts coming in, you lock your lifestyle. You do not upgrade until you hit the goal. Getting to that very first $100K is one of the hardest, most grueling, yet profoundly liberating moments you will ever experience. The path is simple, but it is not easy. If this roadmap gave you real clarity today, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. It costs you exactly $0, and it allows me to keep bringing you these no-nonsense playbooks. Also, drop a comment below right now. Which part of the 7-day action plan are you attacking first today? I want to see who is actually putting in the work versus who is just watching for entertainment. Stop watching. Start building. Let's get after it.